Hi, welcome to Inside View. I'm Chris Stevenson, and I have to say that this might be my very first time interviewing someone that has some magnitude in Calaveras County, and my guest today is Ben Stopper, who is the chairman of the Board of Supervisors for Calaveras County. And if I may to preface things, I have to say that I was not particularly involved or interested or educated in the ways of Calaveras County government and politics, so I did a little research. I actually watched the videos of the Board of Supervisors meetings, as many people do. You can find them online, and I was very impressed. I was very impressed by my guest, Ben Stopper, and I was impressed by how touching or funny it could be. In fact, there was a time when one of the supervisors, Gary Toffanelli, he made this very poignant thank you to Marita Calloway, one of the other supervisors, during Women in History Month, and it almost brought a tear. He was so good. And there was a funny time as well when Marita Calloway, she kind of snapped at you when you didn't acknowledge her fast enough, and I had a little bit of laugh. And I came away well informed, and I would encourage everyone to check out the video that you can watch that's online. All you do is Google Calaveras County, California meeting portal, and you can watch it, and you will see this guy, Ben Stopper, who chairs the Board of Supervisors. So thank you for coming on board. Why did you want to be on the Board of Supervisors?
Thank you for having me, Chris. Well, you know, it's not something you really think that you're striving to be in. I've been asked by quite a few people for some time to run for Calaveras County Supervisor. I always said I'm not crazy enough to do that. You know, the responsibilities there, and it's a thankless job, realizing that prior to being in the position. But I felt that Calaveras needed to start going in a new direction. You know, there's been a lot of things that I think pretty much every supervisor in the past had talked about working on, you know, but for far too long there was a lot of talk and not much action moving forward. So, you know, I decided to bring a younger perspective and an outside of the box thinking to Calaveras County Board of Supervisors and a different approach. And I think that's what made me decide to run for supervisor, is we need to, you know, go in different directions. If we trying the same thing over and over again, you know, definition of insanity, you know, if you expect a different outcome. So
what is the state of Calaveras County? If this was the State of the Union address and you were the president, as you much are, I can make that analogy. What is the state of our county?
I would say, you know, I'm more optimistic. We went into this year with COVID, and, you know, we went into a budget financially that we were very conservative with. The numbers are coming in higher than what we had projected. We're looking at, you know, close to 20,000 vaccines in arms this week. You know, I think we'll probably cross that threshold by the end of this week.
In fact, I checked the county government website, and there's a running total. It was 20,077.
Right. Yeah. Last Friday was 19, so I hadn't confirmed that it had gone over 20,000. So that's great news. And hopefully we're working towards the point with COVID that we're seeing, you know, possibly herd immunity in the near future. You know, there's still a lot of learning we have to do with how we're dealing with this, but I'm hopefully seeing a light at the end of the tunnel of this. You know, we'll never get back to the way we were, but, you know, people are ready to you know, start being able to do a lot of things that they used to do and get out more. And, you know, we've all been cooped up for a very long time. So yes. Potentially I see, you know, a lot of good things happening in Calaveras County and moving forward right now. And so I'm really optimistic about how things are going, considering everything we've been through in the last few years.
We do have a ways to go with COVID.
Yeah.
And I can say that as nurse, it's not all, flowers and roses and then all, optimism. To reach herd immunity, you need to get at least 70% of your population to get the vaccine in both doses. And we're well short of that now, but the state is going to open up vaccines to all people in the state 16 plus on April 15th. And on April 1st, if you're 50 and older, you can get the vaccine as well. And so we hope that more and more people will get us closer to that, that magic 70 or 80%, which will give us herd immunity. But it must be frustrating to see the numbers of people that don't want to get the vaccine. And as someone in the leadership of our government, do you recognize that and do you take steps to help?
Well, you recognize it at the same time. I think right now with the number of vaccines coming in, we are nowhere near being able to vaccine everybody that wants it. So at this point, I think the best approach to take is get it to the people that want it now, that are within the tiers that it's allowed. But thankfully, yes, as I understand it, they will be opening to everyone of 16 plus very soon. Until that happens with the state, though, I take it with a grain of salt. They've been changing directions frequently, and you hear statistics coming in from other parts of the country right now, where they're talking about a fourth wave of COVID coming through. So, and with other strains, who knows what really the future looks like with the vaccines even. Will they work for everything? We don't know. It's a matter of time. And reaching that 70% is, what we strive for. I'm just happy that at this point, early on, 20,000 vaccines, if that was 2 shots in each arm, that translates to over 10,000 people. And that's over 20, well, that's about a little bit over 20%, closer to 25% of our population in Calaveras County.
Are there underserved areas in the county that need access to the vaccine that you know of and you're working toward?
Yeah, we're taking, with vaccines, and this rollout, as with the state and the county, we're building this plane as we're flying it. And to understand that, there's going to be some gaps opening up, and definitely in some rural areas, some people don't necessarily have, the transportation to make it to Frogtown or Mark Twain Medical Center. So they've satellited out to do West Point and Copperopolis quite a few times. And also now we're starting in the Valley Springs area. At the Vets Hall, and then potentially that we'll be making more announcements about some other areas within the greater Valley Springs area, one in my district hopefully very soon, and and we'll be bringing more people into the fold, giving them more access. But I'm very happy with how public health's rolled out, along with working with Mark Twain Medical Center. Mark Twain's been huge to us through Dignity Health, and also Frogtown. We've got a nice place there. A lot of the times when you do these clinics, when we do satellite clinics, we can only get a small number of vaccines out because of circulation issues and other things, and moving people in the proper fashion. Frogtown, it's there, and we can move people through at a high pace and get a lot of shots in. So yes, we do have some gaps. We are working more and more to fill those gaps in. It's a matter of time, and right now there's no shortage of people wanting the vaccines, and that's our best approach, is just get them out as fast as we can when they come in.
It's not all negative with the COVID as well. There have been some positive aspects, some silver linings that have happened with the COVID-19. For example, in Calaveras County, we don't have any institutes of higher education. There are none. But colleges now are largely online. So it doesn't matter anymore, does it?
To a certain degree, I do agree that more people are using online services. Even more so, there's satellite working. I mean, we're seeing a large amount of Silicon Valley and Bay Area people that are moving up here with satellite working continuing in their minds, and that's pushing a lot of our economy right now in Calaveras County, because there's more people moving up here than leaving.
I was going to ask, is that good or bad, having people move here?
There's multiple factors to consider. I mean, if you're watching the housing market right now, it's definitely ballooning. And so there's considerations, at one point, yes, that's more revenue through our assessed taxes down the line when we get those done. But also, we have a working class of people in Calaveras County where if the housing prices continue to rise, they won't be able to afford a home. And that goes into the state and pushing us to do more affordable housing in Calaveras County. And so, there's a balance there. We could take the positives, and there are some negative effects. Our broadband system is seriously taxed. With more people moving up, like Highway 4, with all the kids doing satellite schooling, even when they're going part-time, they're still online doing schooling at least 2 to 3 days a week. And so, we're having some issues with broadband in certain areas where it's just not able to carry the load of everybody that's using it.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard about the Starlink? You're familiar with Starlink and
Yeah.
the satellite system that is developed by Elon Musk? Mm-hmm. And I understand that's coming to our area fairly soon, in months, I'm told.
Yeah.
Are you optimistic about that?
Well, I think that there's opportunity there. I think they're gonna, reading into it, if they get the satellite speeds up, that will be beneficial. There's going to be a period, even if they start giving out not giving out, it's like, I believe it was $500 and on a wait list for a couple months. And then, the wait list is going to continue to go on. So it's going to be a period of time for rollout. And they're still launching those satellites also. So there's a plethora of satellites he's put up there.
So they have a couple of hurdles to overcome, but there's light at the end of the tunnel for these things that we will need post-COVID.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, there's hard lines, fiber optics. There's a speed with that's can't be matched. And reading into it, I think they're moving up the speed significantly where that's going to work, but satellite speed still is not quite there. It's a matter of time, though, I think.
Yeah. Do you think, having experienced the whole COVID-19 pandemic and all that it has wrought and all that it has taught us, do you think that we as a society and as a county will be better served to tackle the next existential crisis that might come along, whether it be another pandemic or an environmental disaster or climate change?
There's a plethora of different disasters. People react in different ways. You see COVID's been somewhat divisive in a way. I mean, some people see it one way, others don't. Some people want a vaccine, some don't. And that's different than, let's say our fires, which, if you're to talk climate change, there's been more and more fires happening across California. I think there was over 10,000 fires in 2020 with over 4.2 million acres burned in just 2020, and that's devastating. If you look back to the Butte fire, Calaveras County came together and they worked together to help each other from all around the county. I mean, and people from outside the county. So, that type of disaster was, really, I think, well responded to by the people of Calaveras County and in supporting each other. I mean, there's well over 500 households with people out of their homes after it burned, and, they were setting up camps behind churches, and it was, from a disaster to seeing the way people help each other, it was enlightening and a good thing to see. COVID's a different type of disaster, and it's after a certain amount of time with a lot of people being cooped up, and fighting something that you can't physically see, I think is developed a different response. So I don't really know how to answer that. Will we be better off to respond to the next one as a county? Most definitely. We've learned quite a bit. Like earlier I said, we're filling in the gaps as we're learning. There's always going to be some gaps when you're, our first round. And next time when we go into it, it's going to, we're going to have a template to work with for if there's a pandemic.
This template that you speak of, is this related to the strategic plan that I've heard of? And answer me this question too, because I don't know. What's the difference between the general plan and the strategic plan? I gave you 2 questions. Go.
Okay. Well, I'll keep the general plan short. It's more a land use thing, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the strategic plan in a certain way with different land uses allow different types of uses on them. Like in manufacturing, you're going to have industrial zones with rock quarries and such, and you aren't going to put a industrial rock quarry in the middle of San Andreas. It'll be outside of San Andreas like they are. But in the middle of San Andreas, you'll have some commercial zones where you're allowed to do certain types of uses. So that's our oversight for the how we view moving forward with Calaveras County with the general plan. Our strategic plan is more of the county's idea on how we're going to proceed on either financial issues, building of new buildings, how we're going to move forward with our employees and structure the county as a whole. I mean, there's a plethora of things. And to go back to one of the things you brought up earlier is resiliency is one of the things we're discussing about being in our strategic plan, which would be like wildfire resiliency or even pandemic resiliency. Those type of things, and being prepared and building up are all part of the strategic plan, as envisioned. By no means are we done with it, so it's work in progress, and all those things are in there on items. We got to build from there.
How long do we anticipate it will take to develop this strategic plan?
Well, they've been talking about it for well over a decade that I know of. So, my hope would be is we're pretty much starting from scratch again, with a few small things done. We're moving forward with it now. I think we can have a decent part of it done in a couple of years. I think in 2 years is reasonable to have a decent part of it done. But the thing about strategic plan is it's fluid. It's never going to be done. Once we get our base to work off of, there's turnover in, let's say, leadership. So maybe next round, I'm not the supervisor for District 5. And the new supervisor and other supervisors have a different vision of how to move forward. So at that time, there would be some changes made to the strategic plan. It's based, but it will have its foundation there so that they have a clear path to proceed with their new vision for Calaveras County at that time.
How do you think the issue of cannabis cultivation and all that's involved in cannabis will fit into the general plan and the strategic plan?
Well, cannabis cultivation is, at this point we've got an ordinance. They're slowly building. So how it fits into the general plan is we have our land uses. We have it in agriculture, rural ag, and some other uses like, manufacturing on industrial for indoor grows. And there's, so that's how it has to do with the general plan. Now we're starting to deal with collecting taxes. And so there's a financial revenue there. And I think that will do, at a certain point as that revenue grows, we will have an opportunity to use that to do other things for the county and move forward in a direction so that possibly we could use some more money for the animal shelter, which has been on the grand jury's radar for years. Miss Calloway brings it up consistently. She has for quite some time since I paid attention. And our animal shelter needs to be addressed. We don't have the room or the facilities to actually deal with the amount of animals that come in Calaveras County, and we have multiple issues with it that we're going to have to address. And I think the board is well aware of that. So that's how cannabis can help with the strategic plan. Is the strategic plan's an avenue to where we can show that we're going to try and get something done, and the animal shelter could be an example where we go through our steps in the strategic plan to come to a point where we actually build a new building and can provide the services to our constituents and residents of Calaveras County that they deserve.
With regard to the budget, you had mentioned, I saw on your website, I think maybe when you were campaigning, that the Rock Creek facility is nearing capacity, and I would imagine that would be an expensive endeavor. By the way, I've been out to Rock Creek many times. That is the nicest dump I have ever seen in my life. But if it's at capacity, it's at capacity. How do you deal with this problem?
Well, we have people there working on it right now. So, it's a multi-step issue. Part of it is closing the old cell. The next step is building a new cell so we can start filling that. There's multiple environmental issues to be dealt with. I could go down a path of starting to talk about money. We have money in there that we collect from the assessed taxes for that, but it's not enough to deal with the situation in its entirety by any means. So, I think a staged process might be something that could be suggested as we move forward. We don't need to build an entire cell at once. We can stage them out, in time. There's some other ideas we're floating around on dealing with that. But it's being worked on and it's being addressed at this time so that there's a plan. And I'll be bringing that before the Board of Supervisors to make a decision sooner than later, because we're going to have to, provide options and then come to a decision as a whole board on how we're going to proceed.
One of the nice things that I've enjoyed about Calaveras County since I moved here 8 years ago is a sense of community that we have here, and a lot of volunteerism. And I was going to bring this up when I knew that I was going to be talking with you today, and I saw on Facebook from a friend of mine, Pam Quile. She wrote a very nice thing, and if you'll permit me, I'd like to actually read this to you and get your comments on it. On Facebook, the question was, what do you think we should tell people that move to Calaveras County? What do they need to know? And Pam writes, it's not about what you can get or find, but also about what you can do once you're here. Every single thing in the county runs in voluntary participation. Please consider helping out. Calaveras County Arts Council, Calaveras Community TV, Relief Renew. We need volunteers for the library system, volunteers for the parks, volunteer help for the trails, Big Trees, Logging Museum, parades, Murphy's Community Club, Softball Little League, Humane Society Animal Rescue, and the Animal Shelter. Always needing help and donations. Father's Day fly-in, Father's Day fishing, reading to the kids in the school or the library, our community gardens, Master Gardeners program in the schools, county fair help, 4-H programs, tutoring. the mentoring programs for at-risk kids, Arnold Rim Trail, trash pickup on trails. Wow, that's a long list. But it just goes to show how much volunteering there is in our community.
Absolutely. And I could bring up, youth sports, side of the highway trash pickup. There's more. And, I grew up in Calaveras County, and that's been there since I was a child. There's a saying when I grew up in McCalmy Hill is we take care of our own. And that's still true there to this day. As I still love that small town and visit frequently because I have family there. But and that's the heart of a small rural community. Is we all work together to get. We don't necessarily have all the things that the big city has. Mm-hmm. So we work together to provide that to each other.
What do you think the best part of living in Calaveras County is?
I have to say the freedom. As a child, the freedom. Mm. I mean, nothing like running out the back door to run down the river and go fishing. Mm-hmm. That's how I grew up. Majority of the people, there's, when it comes down to it, we all want the same good things for the area. Mm-hmm. So I'd say those two things is just the beauty in the rural area. I mean, we are a vast geological area that geographically changes, from the low end Rancho Calaveras, my District 5, Gary's District 1, all the way up to Highway 4 to the high mountains and West Point and everything. It
is very diverse.
Yeah, it's very
I'll give
diverse.
You that. Okay. Where's the best place to picnic in Calaveras County? Where do you take your wife and daughter?
I got a few spots.
Oh, are they secret? You're not going to say.
It's like my fishing spots, oh,
can you tell us where your favorite fishing hole is? Now, there's a question that Ben might not answer.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of places I enjoy, but you've seen a lot of them fill more in with tourism, We definitely like going up to Lake Alpine during the summer, for a day drive.
Although that's not in Calaveras County.
Right.
But it's part of our community.
Spicers in Utica, we stop there. We love big trees. We do that pretty frequently. There's been a couple times I've rented cabins for Christmas up the hill.
One more quick silly question. I saw this in the Calaveras Enterprise in the sports page. They always ask, would you put pineapple on pizza?
Absolutely.
Ben Stopper, ladies and gentlemen. Ben Stopper says pineapples on pizza is okay. So I want to thank you very much because our time is up. But thank you for your leadership and thank you for the time today on Inside View.
Good to meet you, Chris.